My best friend moved in after her breakup. Now she's sleeping in my husband's bed. I'm a 31-year-old woman, and I swear, if someone had told me 6 months ago that my entire life would implode because of my best friend, I would have laughed in their face. Her name is Leah. We've known each other since we were kids, practically sisters. We grew up on the same street, went to the same schools, she was even the maid of honor at my wedding. She was the person I trusted more than anyone on earth. At the time, my life felt solid. I'd been married to Adrian for 5 years. We weren't perfect, who is, but we had a home, a routine, and we were even starting to talk about having a baby. I genuinely thought I was lucky. Everything started falling apart the day Leah showed up at my door with tears streaming down her face, suitcase in one hand, bottle of wine in the other. Her boyfriend of 3 years had dumped her. Out of nowhere, according to her. She was a wreck. I didn't even hesitate. I hugged her, told her she could stay with us as long as she needed, and set up the guest room without thinking twice. Adrian was kind about it too. He liked Leah. He understood, or at least I thought he did. The first few days were fine. Leah cried a lot. We ordered takeout, binge-watched trashy reality TV, and she kept saying how grateful she was for the two of us. She kept calling us her lifeline. It felt good to be there for her. But then, small things started to feel off. I'd come home from work and find them sitting in the living room, laughing at private jokes I didn't understand. Leah would stay up late with Adrian watching movies I didn't even know he liked. Once, I walked in on her wearing one of my hoodies, one Adrian had gifted me for our anniversary. I told myself I was overthinking. That it was the stress. That she was vulnerable, and Adrian was just being friendly. But then I started noticing the looks. The subtle glances between them when they thought I wasn't watching. The way she'd touch his arm, laugh too hard at his jokes. The way he started locking his phone. One night, I woke up around 3 a.m. and realized Adrian wasn't in bed. My heart was pounding as I crept down the hall. The guest room door was closed, the light was off. I found Adrian in the living room, alone, scrolling on his phone. When I asked what he was doing, he just mumbled something about not being able to sleep. His eyes didn't meet mine. I felt sick. And that was just the beginning. After that night, something shifted in me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being lied to, that something disgusting was happening right under my nose. But every time I tried to bring it up, I felt like I was going crazy. Adrian was still affectionate. Still cooking me dinner. Still acting like the man I married. And Leah, she was still my best friend, still laughing with me, still crying over her ex like her heart was broken. But my gut was screaming. It wasn't one big moment that confirmed it, it was 1,000 little ones. Like the way Adrian suddenly started working from home more often. Or how Leah started wearing perfume again, even though she was supposedly too depressed to care about anything. One afternoon, I came home early from work. I didn't tell them. I just showed up. I found the living room empty. Silence. For a second, I thought I was imagining things. Then I heard a laugh. Leah's laugh. From my bedroom. I froze. My entire body went cold. I stood there, completely still, heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. The laugh stopped. Then muffled voices. The door creaked. I panicked. I ran back outside. I didn't want them to know I was there. I stood on the porch for 20 minutes, shaking, before walking back in and pretending like I'd just arrived. They were both in the kitchen when I came in. Leah was flushed, her hair a little messy. Adrian smiled like nothing was wrong. Something inside me cracked. That night, when Adrian was asleep, I checked his phone. I'd never done that before. Never. But I had to know. I had to. The phone was locked, but I knew the passcode. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type it in. And there they were. Messages, between Adrian and Leah. Dozens of them. I scrolled with my heart in my throat. The further I went, the worse it got. It hadn't just started. It had been going on for weeks. Since almost the day she moved in. I don't even know how long I sat there reading her messages. I can't stop thinking about last night. Do you think she suspects? I dream about you when I'm lying in her guest room. And his replies, you drive me crazy. I want you again. Soon. I felt like I was going to throw up. My stomach was twisting so violently I could barely breathe. I wanted to scream. To wake him up, to drag Leah out of that bed and throw her onto the street. But instead, I just sat there, frozen, silent, tears running down my face, hands clutching his phone like it was a bomb. Because it was. My entire life, our marriage, our friendship, it had all been destroyed. And I was the last one to know. I don't think I slept a single second that night. I sat there, in the dark, phone still in my hand, my heart pounding so loud it felt like it was echoing through the walls. I kept reading the messages over and over, like some twisted form of self-torture. As if the more I read, the more it would make sense. But it didn't. I couldn't wrap my head around it. This was Leah. My Leah. The person who'd held my hand through breakups, through exams, through my wedding day. And Adrian, my husband. The man I'd built my life with. The man I thought loved me. How do you even process that level of betrayal? It's like your brain short circuits. I kept thinking, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just flirting. Maybe they haven't actually. But then I saw the photos. Buried in the chat, hidden in between jokes and emojis, were photos. Nothing graphic, but intimate enough. Her in one of his shirts. Him topless in our bed. Pictures I knew weren't meant for my eyes. That's when I realized, they weren't just playing. They weren't just testing boundaries. They were sleeping together. In my house. In my bed. I thought about waking him up right there and smashing the phone in his face. I thought about dragging Leah out of her room and throwing her into the street. But I didn't. I couldn't. Something inside me froze completely. I locked the phone and just sat there. At some point, dawn started to break through the window. The light felt cold. Sterile. I went to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, and stared at myself in the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot. My skin looked gray. I felt like a ghost in my own life. When Adrian finally woke up around 8 a.m., he kissed me on the forehead like nothing had happened, like he wasn't cheating on me in the most disgusting, humiliating way possible. Leah came down for breakfast in my robe. Smiling. Acting like we were still best friends. I wanted to vomit. I went through the entire day on autopilot. I barely spoke. I nodded, smiled when required, cooked dinner like a robot. All the while, inside, I was unraveling. Sarah, my other closest friend, called me in the evening. She asked if I was okay. Apparently I'd sounded weird on text. I wanted so badly to tell her everything, but the words got stuck. I think deep down, I was still in shock. That night, lying next to Adrian in bed, I kept playing everything over in my head. How long had this been going on? Had it started before she moved in? Was he ever going to tell me, or was this their plan all along? And the ugliest thought of all, was Leah even really heartbroken over her ex? Or was that just the excuse to get close to him? To me? The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was psychological. I felt violated in ways I couldn't even put into words. I didn't sleep. Again. And I knew something for sure, I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't keep sharing my home, my life, my bed with two people who were smiling to my face while stabbing me in the back. But I also knew that if I confronted them now, without a plan, I'd lose everything. They'd lie. They'd twist it. Maybe even make me look crazy. So I stayed quiet. But inside, something dark was starting to grow. I wanted revenge. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But I knew I wasn't going to let this go. The next morning, something inside me snapped completely. I was done playing the fool. Done pretending. But I wasn't going to explode, not yet. Not without making sure they paid for this in the most painful way possible. I kept my face neutral. Smiling when needed. Laughing when they laughed. I cooked breakfast like I always did, and I watched, really watched, the way they looked at each other when they thought I wasn't paying attention. It was disgusting. Leah would make little comments, "Adrian, you always make the best coffee." Or, "Maybe I should find someone like you next time." And Adrian would smirk, sometimes throwing me a glance as if daring me to say something. I wanted to scream. But I smiled. I played along. Because I had a plan. That afternoon, while they were out grocery shopping together, they didn't even hide it anymore, I searched the house. I went through Adrian's drawers, his emails, his old phones. I checked the guest room, too. And that's when I found it. In Leah's overnight bag, hidden under her clothes, was a small black notebook. The kind of cheap little diary you'd barely notice. I shouldn't have looked, I know I shouldn't have, but I couldn't stop myself. What I read made my blood run cold. It wasn't just about Adrian. She'd been writing about me too. About how easy I was to manipulate. About how she always knew Adrian had a thing for her. About how stupid I was for not seeing the signs. The worst part? She wasn't even conflicted. There wasn't a shred of guilt. One line in particular burned into my brain: I could take everything from her if I wanted. It wouldn't even be hard. I dropped the notebook like it was poison. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit down. My heart was hammering. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't two people caught up in something messy. Leah wanted to destroy me. I realized then that this wasn't new for her. This was who she was. A manipulator. A liar. A parasite. The anger that bubbled up inside me was different this time. Cold. Calculated. I wasn't going to let her win. The next step came faster than I expected. That night, after dinner, Leah announced, casually, like it was no big deal, that she'd probably look for her own place soon, but that Adrian had offered to help her house hunt. I watched Adrian's face. He didn't flinch. He agreed like it was the most normal thing in the world. I smiled. I nodded. But inside, I was already 10 steps ahead. The next morning, when Adrian left for work, I confronted her. Not aggressively. Not emotionally. Calm. Direct. I told her I knew. Her face went white. She denied it at first, of course. Then she laughed, an ugly, cold laugh I'd never heard from her before. "You're not as dumb as I thought," she said softly. She didn't even try to apologize. Didn't shed a tear. She just shrugged, like it was inevitable. Like it wasn't even that big of a deal. That's when she said the sentence that broke something deep inside me: "You were always the boring one, you know? Adrian deserves to have some fun." I don't remember what happened after that. I think I blacked out from rage. I remember shaking. I remember her smirking. And I remember thinking, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. I don't think I've ever felt hate like that before. Not just anger. Pure, cold-blooded hate. It was like something inside me shattered, and once it broke, there was no putting it back together. After Leah's little confession, that disgusting smirk, those words, I walked out of the room without saying a word. I was shaking so badly I thought I might pass out. My heart was pounding so hard it physically hurt. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor for what felt like hours. I kept thinking, how did I let this happen? How did I not see it? Who even are these people? And then another thought crept in, darker, colder: how do I make them pay? I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to let them see me fall apart. I was going to burn everything down, but I was going to do it quietly, methodically, just like they had done to me. The first step was simple: I needed proof. Real proof. Screenshots weren't enough. Words could be denied. But if I could get them together, physically, there'd be no way out. I spent the next 2 days pretending. Smiling. Acting like everything was fine. I even suggested to Adrian that Leah should stay a bit longer until she's back on her feet. He looked surprised but agreed. Of course he agreed. He probably thought I was the most clueless woman alive. But while they were busy sneaking around, I was busy too. I ordered a small hidden camera online, rush delivery. I set it up in the guest room when Leah was out. I felt sick doing it, like I was betraying myself, but the damage was already done. I needed something that would end this for good. It didn't take long. 3 days later, I was at the office when the motion alert popped up on my phone. My hands went numb. I rushed to the bathroom, locked the door, and opened the feed. There they were. In my house. In my guest room. On my sheets. Together. I don't even remember breathing. I sat on the cold tile floor, watching through tears that wouldn't stop, until the video stopped recording. I saved everything. Backed it up. Twice. That night, I said nothing. I went home. I kissed Adrian on the cheek. I ate dinner with them. I smiled. And inside, I felt dead. I knew what I had to do. I wasn't just going to walk away from this. I wasn't going to let them humiliate me, destroy me, and then move on like nothing happened. They wanted to play dirty? Fine. I was going to end them. The worst part of betrayal is not the moment you discover it, it's the days that follow. The quiet ones. The fake smiles. The way you sit across the table from people who have gutted you and pretend to be whole. That's what those next few days felt like. A living death. Adrian still kissed me goodbye every morning. Leah still borrowed my clothes. They still smiled at me like they weren't both monsters. But inside, something in me was gone. Completely gone. I spent those days planning. Every free second, I was plotting the end. Not just revenge. Not just making them suffer, but making sure they'd never recover. I had the video. The evidence. That was the easy part. What mattered now was how to use it. I started small. I went through Adrian's laptop while he was in the shower, copied emails, work contacts, every password I could find. I dug into Leah's social media, private messages, photos, even her ex-boyfriend's number. I wanted everything. Every angle. Every pressure point. Because I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to erase them. Then, I made my move. It started with Adrian's work. I emailed the HR department, anonymously, from a new account I created just for this. I attached screenshots of messages between him and Leah. Some of the more explicit ones. I knew his company had strict policies on workplace conduct and public image. I knew they wouldn't let this slide, even if it wasn't happening inside the office. I waited. Next was Leah. I contacted her ex. I told him everything. Sent him the screenshots. Sent him the video. I knew, because I'd read her old messages, that she still owed him money. That he despised her. And I knew he'd make her life hell. I wasn't done. I printed some of the more humiliating photos and mailed them, yes, mailed, to Adrian's parents. To Leah's mother. To a few of our mutual friends. No return address. No explanation. Just the images. I felt sick doing it. But I also felt free. I was burning everything they cared about, piece by piece. And they had no idea it was me. Until the collapse started. Adrian came home one evening pale as a ghost. He'd been called into a meeting, temporary suspension pending investigation. He was shaking. I played dumb. Held his hand. Asked, "Is everything okay?" Leah was next. She started getting calls. Her ex threatening to sue. Friends ghosting her. Her own sister called to ask her what the hell she was doing with a married man. I watched them unravel in real time. And I didn't feel a single ounce of pity. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. I still hadn't told them that I knew. I wanted to. I burned for it. But I was waiting for the right moment. The one that would crush them completely. And that moment came sooner than I thought. Collapse came faster than I imagined. And when it did, it was brutal. Beautiful, in a sick way. Adrian was the first to break. 2 days after his suspension, he came home completely wrecked. He didn't even pretend anymore. He just slumped on the couch like a man who knew his life was over. I sat across from him, calm, composed, watching the cracks spread across his perfect little mask. "I don't know what's happening," he mumbled. "Someone's targeting me. Someone knows things." I tilted my head, played innocent. "What do you mean?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. He couldn't. And I knew, in that moment, he was too much of a coward to confess on his own. Leah, on the other hand, completely unraveled. She came to me the next morning, trembling, eyes wide like a trapped animal. She was holding her phone, her hands shaking so badly she could barely speak. Someone sent pictures. To my mom. To Hugo, to people I work with." She was sobbing. Absolutely falling apart. I stood there, listening to her cry, and I felt nothing. Not anger. Not pity. Just a cold emptiness. I remember asking her softly, "Pictures of what?" Her eyes met mine. And I knew she saw it. The flicker of something in my face. The knowledge. The truth. And that's when she finally cracked. She dropped to her knees in my living room, sobbing uncontrollably, grabbing my hands, begging, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean for it to happen like this, please don't hate me, please, I wasn't thinking, I messed everything up." It was pathetic. Adrian walked in on the scene, pale, frozen, watching Leah on the floor and me standing above her like something out of a nightmare. And that's when I said it. Calm. Clear. My voice didn't even shake, I know. Dead silence. I looked right at Adrian. "I know everything. The messages. The nights. The lies. I know." Leah gasped like I'd physically hit her. Adrian's face went completely blank. No one spoke. No one could. Then, softly, I added, "And it's over for both of you." Leah started crying harder. Adrian just stood there, useless, defeated. I felt like I was standing outside my own body, watching them crumble. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I didn't give them the satisfaction of my pain. I just stood there, steady as a rock, as the two people I trusted most destroyed themselves. I wish I could tell you I felt victorious in that moment. That I stood there, calm and composed, watching them fall apart, and that it gave me the closure I needed. But the truth is, it didn't. It felt hollow. Leah kept crying. Adrian kept pacing, his hands in his hair, repeating the same useless words, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this, it was a mistake." But none of it mattered. Because I wasn't the same person anymore. I told them both, quietly, firmly, that I wanted them out. Out of my house. Out of my life. Immediately. Leah begged. She got down on her knees again. She swore it just happened, that she didn't mean to fall for him, that she was broken after her breakup and Adrian had been there for her. She even tried to twist it, tried to make it sound like it was some kind of emotional accident. I didn't say a word. I just stood there. Adrian tried too. He offered therapy. He offered apologies. He swore they'd barely done anything, that it was confusing, that he still loved me. I think that was the moment I realized how deep the manipulation went. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the gaslighting. The lies. The way they both genuinely believed they could talk their way out of this. That they could somehow get me to accept it. But I'd already won. I didn't need their tears. I didn't need their excuses. Because everything I'd set in motion was already irreversible. Adrian's suspension turned into a termination within days. His career, gone. His reputation, tarnished. Leah's life exploded just as fast. Her family knew. Her ex knew. Her job knew. No one wanted anything to do with her after the pictures leaked. I filed for divorce the following week. Clean. No drama. No screaming matches. I had the proof, the timeline, everything. Adrian knew better than to fight me on it. Leah moved out that same night. She left without even looking me in the eyes. I heard later she'd gone to stay with an aunt in another city, completely humiliated. As for me, I stayed. In the house. In the life I built. At first, I thought I'd feel broken. But weirdly, I felt light. Empty, yes, but free. The truth is, I'll never really be the same. The betrayal cut deep, deeper than I thought possible. I don't know when, or if, I'll ever fully trust again. But I survived, and I know this much: they destroyed everything for a few stolen moments. I lost two people I thought I loved. But they lost themselves. And sometimes, when I lie awake at night, I still feel that old anger crawling under my skin. I still see Leah's face, hear Adrian's fake apologies. And the only thing I know for sure is this: I'll never let anyone that close to me again. I don't know what to do with the emptiness they left. But for now, I survive. That's all I can do.
Follow me for more stories.